Hello, my name is Caleb Smith, coming to you from the Rocket Miner with an update for November 3rd, 2020. Now, we're timing this for the middle of the day because it's November 3rd, Election Day. And so my day just actually only gets busier and busier as the time goes on between Rock Springs City Council, results coming down from the county seat at the Sweetwater County Courthouse tonight, and other things, and just in general, I just want to be talking about the election. So today we're going to talk about 5 things that I hope that you keep in mind on this election day. First one being vote. I hope that you voted already, whether it was absentee ballot or taking advantage of the unlimited in-person voting they had at the Sweetwater County Courthouse. Or maybe you got up early like I did. I wasn't the first one to be lining up even before the hours that they officially open at 7 a.m. Outside the Rock Springs Civic Center. And having been to more than one polling place today, I can tell you that certainly some of the lines are stacking up already. At the library, Western Wyoming Community College. So, like I said, congrats, good job if you voted already, or you're in the process or already planning to. And that brings me to number 2. Maybe you're not registered to vote. And that's okay, because in Wyoming, eligible voters are allowed to register at the polls. That's a case where, yeah, it probably would have been easier and quicker to do so beforehand, but that's all right. That's why the poll workers are there. I personally have consistently found them to be helpful, knowledgeable, go-getters and efficient people year after year. This year was no different. In Wyoming, eligible voters need to typically need to display one or more forms of ID. If you've just got a Wyoming driver's license, that should probably do it, or driver's license from another U.S. state. If not, there are other combinations of identification you have. I would point you to the Secretary of State's website about how to register to vote and what identification you need to provide. Do that, and you can cast your ballot today like anybody else. The third thing that I would like to point out, and not that some of us need a reminder, but just because of the current numbers, I think it's important to note that there is a pandemic going on, and we should be keeping that in mind and working to act safely and considerately. The Casper Star-Tribune noted earlier this week that it took 4 months for Wyoming to reach 2,000 confirmed cases of the coronavirus. And this past week, we had more than that, and that is a steep curve when you see something like that. And that's just the lab-confirmed cases. Lord knows that there were probably more probable cases out there, people displaying symptoms and having had contact, but they just haven't gotten the official results returns yet. Or people who aren't in the system yet. They haven't been tested and may or may not be spreading it. In Wyoming, it's kind of interesting because our governor right now is isolating himself after possible COVID-19 exposure. That came out yesterday and saying that he will be in isolation until November 11th, or 14 days following the potential exposure. Said that according to the governor's office, he had a meeting with a person who has tested positive for the coronavirus, and while all attendees took precautions, including wearing masks for the length of the meeting, the governor's still choosing to provide example and go into isolation himself. Closer to home in Sweetwater County, we've certainly seen an increase in our cases. We've heard how Sweetwater County Public Health is asking for more help, more volunteers to assist with contact tracing. They're changing what tests are being provided just because of the recent upswing. It's been noted that there's some concerns about whether or not the increase in cases could impact whether or not we're able to host schools in session. Even if there's not an increase amongst the kids, they pointed out the scenario where what if there's just so many teachers who have to go into quarantine that we can't keep up with substitutes. At Western Wyoming Community College, there's been an outbreak amongst some of the student athletes, which was part of the discussion and the update at the Western College Board meeting last night. We're told that the college's COVID response team is supposed to be meeting today, and there's a chance that they may increase the tier level and restrictions and expectations that the college has right now. They're presently on level 2. And I should note, just jumping to the end, level 4 is when they go to online-only classes, so we're not there yet. The discussion would be possibly moving to level 3. That would involve testing everyone in the residence halls, testing all the student athletes, because that's where presently the positive results have been concentrated. And one other thing that the college has previously noted, that if it switches to online instruction partway through the semester, it will stay there for the duration of the semester. They won't be switching back and forth throughout the way. So as part of that, we just want to remind you of the same common sense expectations. Wearing masks when you're around other people, especially if you can't maintain a distance of at least 6 feet. Wash your hands frequently. Wash your masks. Don't use them more than once a day without cleaning them. Just be considerate and keep your guard up. I know it's long and we're tired about it, but that's honestly, the virus doesn't care. The increasing number in cases, if the virus got as tired as we did, we wouldn't be seeing the numbers we are right now. So just keep that in mind. Then, number 4, I want you to keep in mind that the results may take a little while. And this is not a new thing, and this is not necessarily a bad thing. There has never been a case where, in modern history, where a state has officially counted and certified all its results on election day. It's never happened once. Certainly, why would anybody think it's going to happen this year? Usually, there's going to be, just because of the mass number of votes counted, or the cast, that have to be counted, it can take some time. Even when you have a head start counting some of this stuff, and there are some states, particularly some of the key states that people are keeping a close eye on, Michigan, Pennsylvania, that they aren't allowed to start counting votes till today, or even processing them. Some places they've granted temporary exceptions just because of the increased, I think almost every state, if not all of them, have set records for absentee voting this year. And it also remains to be seen just how many are still in the mail that have to come in. So it's, in many states, as long as they're postmarked by election day, they count. And this is where the media has some blame to take here, because there are a lot of outlets that have turned election night into a big 3-ring, high-rating circus. It's profitable. It's fun. It's a culmination, and for America, we like a good story arc. We like to have rising action, climax, boom, fireworks, bam, credits, go home, move on to something else. We may not necessarily have that this year. Mathematically, there's some chances where there could be enough races where the votes that we have counted, and compared to what still remains to be counted, they can make a call. But even then, we're going to have to wait potentially for some of the results to be certified, and even potentially then we may have some fun with the Electoral College. And don't doubt that all the major campaigns have lots of money already spent on lawyers who, yeah, we're going to be busy in the next couple of days. And that's also the point, and that's just the official stuff, let alone the fact that, like I said, there are more than a couple publications or broadcast stations, networks that they've built up election night, and now we're in the part where we have to admit that, well, just because we call the race this way doesn't mean that this is how it is. And there's the mathematical possibility that we may not be able to say where things stand by the time you all are ready to go to bed. Personally, I was ready to go to bed go back to bed a couple hours ago. We'll see. I don't doubt that sensation and inclination will grow throughout the day. I would liken it to a boxing match where you may be listening to the commentators, and you may go multiple rounds, and there may not be a definitive knockout. And at the end of the night, it doesn't matter what the voiceover commentary people say. It goes down to what's the actual count. What do the judges say? And if you just base your expectations on what the commentators are saying partway through the evening, you may not necessarily, that might be premature. I would stress that both our outlet and other reputable ones is that our goal is to be accurate, and if that takes more time, that is what we're going to do. A fast result that's inaccurate hurts everyone, and most of us have lived through elections where, do you remember 2016? Yeah. You want to get all the way to the end before you make a definitive call. And I guess just one other thing to vote is that exit polls, early returns, certain outlets have to do something to fill the air. It's a 24-hour news cycle, Lord help us. And so we're going to hear some stuff about that, and that only means so much. Personally, as a person who's done it way too many times, I hate exit polling, just due to it as a reporter. And I got the feeling that a lot of people who I would ask questions of didn't appreciate it earlier, and weren't always necessarily telling me an accurate representation of what they were thinking in the poll booth. It's a personal, private part of our American experience. Why should I share that with someone else? Well, some people are happy to. These are also people who often take pictures of their food and share them on social media. But anyway, when it comes to exit polls, I don't put much faith in that. And a lot of our early results may depend on which votes are counted and presented first. There are going to be some states where we're going to be getting a bunch of absentee ballots first, and for what we've seen thus far in the election, it seems like predominantly more Democrats and Republicans have at least been requesting absentee ballots. And I would anticipate that in some of those states, you're going to see some of those states start out blue, and then as the day goes on, they're going to shift a little bit more red, because from indications that we had leading up to this, and today's will be the definitive, but it looked like there were a lot more. There's a chance that there will be a lot more Republicans voting today than Democrats, or certainly in some areas. Certainly in Wyoming, I say with 100% confidence. And as part of that, there are going to be some states where may start out a little bit more red, and as the absentee ballots go in, you're also going to see some of those ballots shift toward the middle. I don't care what the ballots are and are going to be during my lunch break. I don't care what the initial prognostications are right after the polls close. I personally, and I know many other people out there, are looking for when it mathematically gets a high percentage of the races in. If not, there might be some states where we have to count every single one. And if eligible voters cast a ballot properly, it deserves to be counted. That's part of the agreement that we have set up in our form of government, saying that especially in presidential elections, every 4 years, we give you all a chance, and we make sure that every voice has a chance to be heard. And after all that, and the craziness that no doubt that will entail, I want to just go quick to number 5, since I've been talking quite some time already. And that's just to remind you that when we all wake up tomorrow, we're still going to have the same family. We're still going to have the same neighbors. I hope we still have the same friends. Regardless of whether we have a winner tomorrow, whether we have just an ugly dog race that looks like it's going to take a while and may go to Supreme Court, our day-to-day lives are still probably going to be pretty straightforward, hopefully unchanged. You're probably going to go to work like you normally have, or whatever your daily routine is, taking care of the kids, dealing with your daily hobbies, and whatnot. And I hope that we are just conscious of our behavior, both tonight and going forward, and we make good choices. I don't think anybody should lose a friendship over any election. I would hope that families, while they're always going to disagree, because that's part of what makes you a family, is that you're looped together by all sorts of bonds, that this isn't something that should be an unsurmountable obstacle. We still have lots of work to do, and I guess my final thought is that if you wake up tomorrow and it's not quite the country that you hoped it would be, or you don't think it's going the direction that you wanted it to be, do your part to, as things go forward, to educate people, have these conversations, volunteer to do some of the work that you think needs to be done. Maybe even consider, I know some people that they're already thinking about future campaign races just based on what's already happened this season. Do your part to try to bring about the positive world that you want to see. Or maybe you wake up tomorrow and you like where things are headed. Good. You still got work to do, because in most cases, you got to work to keep the boat lined up and on target, or the plane, or whatever you want to put into your metaphor. Just because the car is pointed in the right direction doesn't mean that you take your hand off the wheel. If you don't do your part, whether it's the contour of the roads or the vehicle being tricky, you gotta actively try to keep things going in the direction you want to have. So, like I said, tomorrow, no matter what, we will have work to do, and I'm hopeful that we can still be doing so in a cooperative, respectful way with the people around us, no matter what you put down on your ballot. Anyway, hope that you're able to get your ballot cast. I hope that we're able to count all of those legitimate ballots out there, and maybe we'll be blessed to find out that there's a definitive winner tonight, and we can all go home and go to sleep early. Or maybe you'll be like me and you're going to be up late looking at all the returns no matter what. Regardless of what that is, I hope you're looking to the Rocket Miner for additional news, and I just hope that you're being considerate and being a good neighbor as we see the coming days, however long it takes to declare a president and everything else down the line. My name is Caleb Smith, and I've been speaking to you from the Rocket Miner office, wishing you a good day and a safe tomorrow. Bye.